What do we think of today's face? I'm kind of loving it. I did what I just always do, which is just open the palettes up and be like, I fancy those colours. And I don't really even consider if they go together, but actually, I like it. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Every year, or like for, at least for the last few years, I've done like a review of the last year and then like talking about my New Year's resolutions and goals and things. Yeah, I didn't do that this year, and it was kind of a mix of reasons, mainly because I decided this year I wasn't going to set any New Year's resolutions. I have like goals that I want to accomplish, but I've not really... Hi Cleo. Hi. Hi, I'm talking to the camera, yes. Do you want to say hello? Can you sit there nicely? Good girl. You're such a good girl. Hi. This is Cleo, if you're new here, my tiny little cat. Yeah, she just likes to be up by my grill when I film. Don't you, honey? She's also a snuggle muffin. Yeah, I knew what my goals were, but I've not really set like time limits on them. And you know, I never used to even like New Year's resolutions. And then when I got ill and I really got into like doing YouTube videos, I started thinking, oh yeah, like I think actually maybe some New Year's resolutions for the first time in my life would be good, because something to aim for, give myself a whole year because of my health. Like everything in my life moves slow now, which is painful because I'm a very fast moving person naturally. So that's always been a hard thing to deal with in terms of my illness, like really slowing down. So yeah, I started doing it, and then this year I feel myself pulling away a bit from that, which I'll go into more in this video. But basically I wanted to talk about 2019 because honestly it changed me, and I just want to kind of sit down and talk with you guys about that. I know it's like 3 months in, but honestly I've taken this long to like digest last year and get into that this is a new year, if that makes sense. 2019 was a really big year for me. I feel like I really turned a lot of corners with my health, and not in terms of like cures or like me being better, but in terms of like just how I live my life and how I deal with things and how I process things. And yeah, it's just been a really big turning point, which is again why it's taking me so long to like process it all and digest it all. But basically like there's kind of 3 main reasons. I guess we'll start with health. I've just kind of naturally gone here. I haven't planned anything for this video. I just wanted to talk from the heart. Yeah, we'll start with health. So if you're new here and you didn't know, I have systemic lupus and fibromyalgia, but I also suffer with like chronic migraines and chronic rhinitis. And yeah, I also have had my fair share of mental health problems, just mental illness in general. And there's kind of 3 main things that kick off a big lupus flare for me. So if you didn't know, lupus is an autoimmune disease that can attack any and every organ in your body, and it flares, and then you go into periods of remission, and then it flares again. And a flare could be literally years, months, weeks, days, hours, and same for remission periods. So it's confusing and it's hard. And 3 main things that cause my flares are stress. That's I don't know why I'm doing this. Stress, overexertion, and the sun, and like heat, hot weather. And I went through one of the worst times in my like health journey since I got diagnosed with lupus. I got diagnosed back in 2016, so this will be my 4th year living with it. And one of my worst periods of lupus, of my experience with lupus, was actually summer 2018, which if you're in the UK, I don't know if you remember, but it literally was like 38 degrees here, which it never is. Normally it gets to like 22 and we're all like, oh, this is really hot. It was like unprecedented levels of heat, but also it just lasted forever with no like rain or breaks where it was cooler. Everything died. Like especially where I live, I kind of live in country, I guess. It's like suburbs. Does England have suburbs? There's a lot of green around, so I live in a very lush area, which I love, and everything was brown and yellow and dead. Like everything, the grass everywhere you went, it just was awful. But it was also awful for my health. I had such a big, long, awful flare that I basically couldn't go out for like 3 months, and that really affected my mental health. And actually that was the worst part of it, was like my mental health took a nosedive, and it got really dark. I felt really suicidal for the first time in a few years, and yeah, it was just really awful. I just like hated my life. I was like, this isn't a life I want to live. If I like just can't ever go out or do anything, I'm in absolute agony, writhing around in pain all day, every day, throwing up, like having to literally sit in the dark, have all the blinds and curtains closed all day, every day. Like, that's not good for anyone. And it was really, really hard. So then when 2019 rolled around and we came out of winter, because winter's normally good for me, because sun and UV rays and heat affect lupus. It actually is the way that your body absorbs those things that makes lupus like attack. Basically anything that comes into my body makes lupus attack, but lupus gets confused because it's fucking stupid and attacks your healthy tissues and healthy organs. So yeah, that's the way lupus works. And yeah, so then when the weather started getting warmer, I found myself really panicked. Like early 2019, I was like terrified. Anytime the sun was out, anytime it was like a bright sunny day, I just instinctively was like, I can't go out, shut the curtains, sit in the dark, wait till it's over. And that's just not a way to live, for me anyway. Like, I found it really hard, and I had to really kind of force myself out of that and be like, okay, like, you know, it's spring, so it's not hot, but it is sunny, so wear your sun cream and go out in it for a bit and see how your body reacts. Like, give yourself a chance. Don't just say because that was awful that it'll always be awful, I guess. So I started going out more in the sun, not in like summer heat, but in spring. And it did wonders for my mental health, of course. And I started to feel like I was having life breathed into me again. When you get diagnosed or you get really ill with it, like a serious illness, and one that's like lifelong, there's no cure, blah blah blah, it'll be with you forever, you go through like long periods of like mourning your old life, and also like being really sad about your new life, and that's perfectly normal, and that's fine, and that's okay. I guess I thought that my life would always be that way. And don't get me wrong, still to this day, I do have days or weeks or even months where I do still feel like that. I feel a bit like, what is my life now? And what do I want from life now? And what can I get from life now? And who am I now? Like, I do go through that, and that's hard. But it felt like kind of 3 solid years of like, maybe even 4 solid years of just like illness, sickness, depression, like just this dark time. And I like literally and figuratively stepped out into the light, and it made a huge difference. Like, it really did. Being able to do that and then realise, okay, so like a short little walk, like literally a 5-minute walk out of my house and back in spring is not going to mean 3 months of indoors in the dark. Like, making that connection was hard, because it's genuinely scary, because your fears are justified, because that's what's happened to you every time before for like 3 whole years of like, every time I'm in the sun, this is what happens. So obviously you then are going to be scared of it. I was just so ready to not be scared of it anymore. So yeah, that was like a big thing, overcoming that. and kind of like I realised I was kind of like scared of living life, because for a long time everything set off a flare. Like I couldn't gauge where my, like I guess my baseline was and my top line was, in terms of like what can I do in a day and what can I do in a week that means that I won't have to then spend 3 weeks in bed, bedridden, bedbound. Like how much can I do in a day without it meaning I need to be forced into a wheelchair. Things like this, like I had genuinely had to figure out that from scratch for myself. It was hard. There's a lot of trial and error, a lot of failing, a lot of causing flare-ups for myself and then being really frustrated at myself, hating myself for it, feeling stupid, being like, no, you should just not do anything. But I just couldn't live like that. And so that's been a huge change, and it was a journey I had to take the whole year. I feel like this year already, these last few months, I'm so much better at gauging this is okay and this is too much. And this is kind of where I need to sit each day and each week. And also, I guess I like developed a fear of my own mental health. And I wanted to maybe do a video on this separately. So if you want me to, like, if it's something you think you need to hear or you want to hear, let me know. But I really did. Every single time I'd have like a bad day, just, you know, like something happens and it annoys you and it just puts you in a bit of a bad mood, my mind would instantly go to, this is it. My depression's back, my anxiety's back, my eating disorder's going to come back, this is all, it's going to get dark real quick. I can't do that again. Because if you're new here and you don't know, or you're old here and you just don't know, I became very unwell actually back in like 2014, 2015, but obviously didn't know what was wrong, and it took till 2016 to get diagnosed with lupus. But in amongst that, I, for the first time in my life, suffered with my mental health. Out of nowhere, I was an anxious, nervous wreck, scared of absolutely everything, couldn't leave the house, but I was also deeply, darkly depressed, and very suicidal. And I took myself to therapy, and I'm still doing different kinds of therapy. I recommend therapy to absolutely everyone. If you can get it, do. Yeah, and I've worked really, really hard, and it was so hard to drag myself out of that now I don't ever want to go back, which is unrealistic, because I feel like, you know, I think everyone will suffer with their mental health at some point, because that's just life and that's just part of the human experience. But it doesn't always have to be that or nothing, and that was also a big like learning curve. I had to really just keep telling myself, like, this is just a bad day or a bad moment, just like, it's not going to get like that, it's okay. And if it does get like that, you're equipped much better than you were back then, because you've been through all the therapy, you know all the tools, you know your new coping mechanisms, etc, etc. You'll be okay. Like a lot of self-soothing I basically had to do through 2019. But yeah, I'm better as well at knowing with flares, like, the same fears, like a lot of fear basically. 2018 was so bad that I entered 2019 with a lot of fear, and through 2019 I've let that go, and it has been beautiful and life-changing. And I had this huge fear of, okay, I've woken up today in more pain than I did yesterday. Assess, why do we think that is? Sometimes you won't know. Sometimes you genuinely won't know. Sometimes to me, it feels completely random, which is really cruel, but it is the way it is in my experience. But I'll be like, okay, maybe I overdid it yesterday, or it was really hot yesterday, or I am going through a lot of stress right now. And so I'll give myself like, okay, just have today, like do nothing. Literally, the art of doing nothing, it's a tough one. It's a real tough one, which I feel like a lot of people are going to have to try and learn right now, because everyone's self-isolating and not socialising and all the rest of it because of the coronavirus. It's hard. And having to actually like pin yourself to the sofa or the bed and nope, you're not doing a single thing. You're not doing a single thing. That's it. That's what you need. But also that if you do that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be then stuck there for months. That was a fear. So almost like I went through a period in 2019 kind of early on of trying to fight my flares, being like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not spending the day bedbound. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm never going to be bedbound again. And that's just, it's not realistic. I am going to be. It's like tough. It's part of my life. It's part of living with lupus and fibro and chronic migraines. It just is. And so give yourself that, and you might wake up the next day better for it. You know, you might actually it might only last a day. That wasn't my experience for the first few years of lupus. My experience was, when it comes hard and it stays a really long time. So learning how to live again, better my mental health through that, whilst also learning how to, like, where my lines are. Like, I can do this, I can't do this, that's too much, that's just enough. Learning all of that meant that I then could have shorter flares, because I was managing myself better. And there's a lot of self-management and like health management and all the rest of it that you have to do when you have a chronic illness, and it is really hard. And I also fought that for a very long time in the very beginning, because I was just like, I don't want to do it. I just want to be a normal like 20-something-year-old, you know. I just want to go about my day. I don't want to be thinking about all this stuff, but that's not realistic. And also, like, it doesn't have to be this really bad, sad thing to manage myself. It's a good thing. It actually is a good thing, because it means that I can then have a better life overall, better quality of life overall. That was a hard lesson. Making those connections. It's all been tough, basically, but in a really great way. So yeah, that was kind of the learning curve I went through with my health, but also to do with health stuff, just to finish the health section of this video. I got a lot of new treatments last year, and that has made a huge difference. Early on in the year, in 2019, I did a whole mindful movement class through the NHS, through my physiotherapy. I found physiotherapy useless, which everyone kind of told me. Everyone that has like lupus or fibro or similar conditions kind of told me, and I was really excited and hopeful, and it was not good. I got nothing out of it, in all honesty. But through that, I got the mindful movement class, and although there was like no movement, so I think they should rename it, and it didn't do what they claimed it would do, I do still think it helped me, because I still to this day use the techniques I learned, and I do still meditate, and I do still do mindfulness exercises, and I just live mindfully, which, if you don't know, maybe I'll do a whole video on mindfulness if you want me to. I did do one about my experience with the class, but yeah, basically it just means like whatever I'm doing, I'm in the moment doing it, and that's all. I'm not like doing my makeup whilst worrying about, did I take my pills earlier and what I've got to do later, and if I do this today, can I not do that next week, and blah blah blah. Truly just being in the moment is so much better for your mental health, but also your physical health, because if you're doing something, not just having a constant inner monologue about how much pain you're in relaxes your body. And I've had to do a lot of stuff about like the physiological responses your body has because of trauma that I've been through, and I have done some specific like trauma therapy, and I'm due to actually go and do more therapy that's for trauma, and that's to do with like the way your body physiologically responds to things, which is essentially like, I lived for a really long time in constant fight or flight mode. And if you don't know what that is, I don't know if you've ever been in any kind of like confrontation, like a car accident scenario, or there's like a million different things basically where your body all of a sudden shoots up, like, and you're in fight or flight, which means that your body is ready to either fight for your life or run for your life, and it's a response that you have, and it's a good thing that's there in us to tell us about danger and how to deal with it. But if you've been through trauma, that can then last and just stay with you. And so your stress levels are up here, even like chemically, there's like too much stress hormones going on, but also like you just can't ever relax. You just don't ever feel relaxed. You constantly feel panicked. For me, like any little thing and I would just be there, and like then I just sat there for like literally years just in this state of panic. And learning how to come down from that. Mindfulness helped with that, because even now certain things will happen and there's no need for that to happen in my body, but it still does, because it's still unlearning that as a habit and as a response. And I'm having to say to myself, like in mindfulness class they taught you to say to your body, like, thank you for that response because you're keeping me safe, but I don't need it right now. Like, you don't obviously have to sit there and say it out loud, but you know, I don't need it right now, and just bring your body back down. And even now, if I get in scenarios where it shoots up and I can tell that it, you know, it's not meant to be like that because there's not a lion running at me to attack me, then I'll literally go inside and just focus on my breathing, just literally listening to my breath, or just concentrating on the feeling of breathing, and straight away I come down. It's incredible. And that was one of the actually main and best things I took from the mindfulness class, was the breathing thing, because a lot of the stuff they did was about body scanning, which is to do with scanning your body and from head to toe, or from toe to head really, and talking to yourself through it about where your pain actually is, and actually a lot of people then realise that maybe they don't have like a lot of physical pain when they're actually scanning, you know, is my ankle hurt, is my knee hurt? But for me that doesn't work, because they actually all do hurt, which I got in a lot of debates with the leader of the class about, because I was always like, yeah, but I actually am in pain. So body scans I actually just find more depressing, because it's just like, are you in pain here? Yep, all the way up. So actually focusing on breathing, my breathing doesn't hurt me. I can bring myself back down. So that really did help. But also I actually last year, and this has been genuinely life-changing, I received a GON injection in the back of my head, literally straight through here, with a ginormous needle, which is for my chronic migraines, because what we've actually found, after I've had migraines since I was literally 11, so like 17 years, yeah, like 17 years, and they are very extreme. I vomit, I lose my vision completely sometimes, I nearly pass out, like it's absolutely horrific. I need like 2 days, but sometimes they last a week, where I'm just in the room, in a room that's dark, quiet, cool. I have to have stuff over my face. It's just this whole thing that's been my entire life. We basically found out through a decent neurologist finally that I've seen, that my greater occipital nerve, which is in the back of your head, and it like attaches your brain to your spine, I believe, and like your nervous system, was incredibly swollen. Like, I kept saying, out of nowhere I was getting this pain in the back of my head that genuinely felt like I was going to die. Like, it felt like I was having like an aneurysm or something, because I'd had really severe migraines that are like a 10 out of 10 on your pain scale, and then these started, and I can't even explain it. It was so bad that the pain itself used to make me vomit, and and just sob. I just used to sob through it because it was that much pain. And then I kept thinking afterwards, it actually feels like swollen and tender, I swear. So I said that to him the next time I saw him, and he checked it out, and he was like, yeah. And he had a proper look at it, said it was incredibly swollen. And I got sent for the injection, and I had it. And some people only need one and then they never have to have it again. Some people need it every few months. I think you can only have it for a year. I only had the one literally like a week, I think, before we went to Florida. And touch wood, my migraines have been greatly reduced. Like, I still get them before my period without fail. But what I've found is actually that even when they come, where they used to be a 10 out of 10, now they're like a 6 or a 7. And the new stuff he's given me, because we changed all my meds, because I was on preventative treatment and also had like a whole care package of tablets and sprays and things I had to use when I got one, because that's like how serious they are. He changed all of that, and actually my new stuff combined with the injection means that they don't knock me out for a week. Like, actually, touch wood, I don't think I've had one since September that's knocked me out for a week, which is unprecedented for me. I've suffered with that my whole life, so that's been honestly life-changing. I think I need a new one. I think it's like wearing off. But I'm due to see my neurologist in June, I want to say, so yeah, I'll discuss that with him then. But like, yeah, I've had a lot of new treatments, which has changed my life as well. Also in 2019 we went on our holiday of a lifetime. We went to Disney World, Florida. We spent the entire year, like from January 1st, we were like, it's this year, like we're going this year. And it was the best holiday. Like, I want to cry with happiness every time I talk about it, because it was genuinely pure joy. Pure joy. Like, from beginning to end. It just was the best trip we've ever had. It was so much fun. It was exactly what we both needed. And when we got back, I felt like it changed me, because I felt this shift in like, I deserve still to like have this kind of experience and these experiences and these kind of highs in life, and I hadn't for so long that it's like it really shifted something in me where I wanted to actually pursue like a different quality of life, like a higher standard of life for myself, and just like truly redefine what living is to me. Because before I got ill, right, I've always been a huge adrenaline junkie, always, and I like doing things that are high intensity, high energy. Like, I love anything physical, and obviously the type of illness I have has taken a lot of that, and at times all of that, away from me, and I've had to live at like such a slow pace that I'm just not comfortable with, and it's forced on me. So it's like that you can imagine how hard that would be, even if you've not been through something like this. And just going there, and like, I was in a wheelchair every day, but it just still was like a huge awakening because of that, because it was like I had the time of my life, but that was probably because I've spent the whole year relearning or learning for the first time how to properly manage my health issues. So yes, I was in a wheelchair, I took all my tablets every day, I had to reapply sun cream literally like on the hour, like scheduled like army time. Like, this is where we take it. I had a UV umbrella over me, I had to cover up. Like, we went home, back to the hotel in the hottest hours. Like, it sounds like so much, and before I always thought that all that stuff would ruin my holiday for me, but it was the best holiday of my life. It truly was. And on that holiday we got engaged. Ben proposed, I got engaged, and we're engaged. Which is crazy, because now obviously since September it's all been wedding talk, and like, me and this man have been together since we were children, since we were 14, and we've talked about getting married since we were 14, and so now that it's finally like happening, it's it's amazing, and it's a lot, and it's really what we've always wanted, and for it to happen in 2019 was perfect because of the fact that, like, I feel like we've both finally got into this groove where our quality of life has been better. 2019 was the year we stepped our pussies up with our quality of life. Like, we really did. It was like, I'm not going to keep telling myself I can't do things. I'm going to say, I can do it, but I'm going to have to do this first, or I can do it, but I'm going to have to do it in this way instead, rather than just, no, I can't do anything. And yeah, the fact that we got engaged after a year of, like, being happier was really beautiful, and Christmas was amazing, and 2019 was just a really great year and a really life-changing year, and I've come into 2020 just more content and more relaxed and more at peace with myself, which is just what I hope for everybody. Like, to just be at peace with yourself and your circumstances is the most important thing. And I'm excited about, like, every part of life, and that wasn't there for me for a really long time. So yeah, all good things. And for 2020, for my channel, let me know what you want to see more of, less of, what you like from me. The thing is, right, is, like, I know you guys love hauls and you guys know I love to shop, but I'm branching out into some other stuff, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and I would love to hear from you. I would love to hit 5k. 5,000 subscribers is my goal. We're nearly at 3, very nearly at 3,000, which is just crazy. So yeah, that's it for this video, I guess. I feel like I've literally talked for probably like an hour, so I'm really sorry if this was, like, too long, but if you're a subscriber, you know I love to chat, so I don't think you'll be that surprised. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you. I'm trying to upload videos every twice a week. Actually, I'm aiming to go up to 3 a week, which will be on Tuesdays, Fridays and Sundays, normally in the evening. But yeah, also follow my Instagram at Jessica_Chelsea, which is spelled Chelsey. And the same on Twitter. I'd love to have you over there. I'm really proud of the photos I've been posting. I'm really proud of, like, just everything I'm putting out, really. And that's a really lovely feeling as well. And yeah, I'm gonna go. I hope you're having a beautiful day, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.